Learning programming is easy. You just have to put your foot in the door.
I wish I had 2,000 feet so I could put 500 of them in each of your asses.
Read Forman. I am now somewhat wise enough to avoid learning multiple languages. I want to invest my focus, power, patience, energy, madness, creativity, inventiveness, chaos, and anarchy into one good one. Back when I was exploring languages, however, all I needed to really get going was to put my foot in the language's door. There's a programming tradition where every language always has a hello world example. And while that is indeed a magnificent start, you also need to figure out how to execute the program. Each programming language will have their own quirks on how to get stuff going. NativeScript, to give a tiny example, requires that you first install Java and then Android Studio. Fortunately, JavaScript, which is not really related to Java, is really easy to get going with. If you are reading or listening to this on a desktop browser, you can just press Shift+CTRL+I to open the web developer tools. And then just type in console.log, opening round bracket, single quote, hello world, single quote again, and then closing round bracket. And here you need to press enter to execute your first program. This is why I recommend JavaScript. It is the language of the web, and it is pretty powerful and extremely rich. Once you know how to write hello world and how to execute it, you go for the double whammy where you search for text and video tutorials. Text tutorials are not at all outdated. You can copy and paste for one, and you don't have to hurry. Video tutorials are great in their own way. They are so rich that sometimes you don't have to follow along. You just sit there and watch the code happen. And I recommend that you start with the Electron Fiddle tutorials, as that is a quick way to begin creating desktop applications. If you want to get creative and practice JavaScript syntax, the language, the brackets, and even code formatting, I recommend you go for p5.js tutorials, as they are extremely friendly. And if you want something with more meat on the bone, take Node.js Express.js tutorial, or just get a taste of NativeScript. I also recommend that you browse JavaScript libraries, visit JavaScript topics, and both JavaScript and Node.js awesome lists. Later on, you will need a source code repository like Git. Make sure it's something that is self-hosted so that you don't have to rely on some third-party service, and then use the third-party service as just a backup. For unit testing, I recommend you explore behavior-driven development because here you describe program parts in text, which is also something AI can both help you with and understand. Consider avoiding Visual Studio if you can, though it's really up to you. I personally use Pulsar Edit, but maybe you should consider looking into Zed. Be careful with investing yourself into keyboard shortcuts. You should make sure that your code editor is going to be around for a long time if you do that. So if you want to try keyboard shortcuts, I would recommend NeoVim. But the more open and simple the editor, the less time you have to spend on getting used to it. While you are learning programming, program as much as you can. It doesn't need to make sense. But when you begin working on serious programs, you should diagram everything out on paper first. To be clear, the best recommendation I could possibly make for learning JavaScript and the surrounding ecosystem is just to relax and watch tutorial videos until something grabs you by the button and gets you programming. And lastly, if you are not interested in learning programming, focus on what you are interested in. And look how much better you would be at it if you could automate it, simulate it, visualize it, or script it all with artificial intelligence. The ability to program computers is a fundamental, like language or reading or basic math. It is a multiplier. It makes you more powerful at anything and everything.